Hey, what's up, everybody? I thought I'd make just a quick video talking about something I get a few questions on every now and then about the game Injustice Gods Among Us. It's a game created by the same dudes who did Mortal Kombat 9, which is NetherRealm Studios, which is basically the Mortal Kombat team of like Ed Boon and people like that. And it's a superhero game. It's a DC Universe kind of fighting game. It's kind of like MK versus DCU, with the exception of no Mortal Kombat characters. As far as I know, there's not any. I assume they're not even going to have cameo appearance Mortal Kombat characters. I could be wrong, but I doubt they will. Um, but one thing I think's kind of interesting about this game is the fact that it's a superhero fighting game, which you really don't see a whole lot of. Granted, you had like your Marvel fighting games or whatever, but I mean, as for like a modern age game, I mean, the closest thing you can get to that is like Marvel vs. Capcom or whatever, 3. Um, but not like this style, not like Mortal Kombat, style. Like, it's not like where you have this really unbalanced game and it's got like, you do like a 50 hit combo or whatever, like in Marvel vs. Capcom. So, I think that's kind of cool that I mean, they do have the juggles, or at least MK9 had the juggles. I have a feeling that's what this is going to be. And if that's what it is for the online, like MK9 was, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. I really don't like fighting games that do those crazy juggles. I think that it's quite a bit overrated to have a game like that, and I think the game becomes highly unbalanced when you make the game like that. Street Fighter really doesn't do that. I've had some people say, Street Fighter does it, or Marvel vs. Capcom. They always try to lump that in there, and that's one thing I really can't stand, is when someone tries to lump in Street Fighter with Marvel vs. Capcom, just because they have some of the same characters, and it's a fighting game, doesn't mean they're the same game. Um, because I really like Street Fighter, and I really don't like Marvel vs. Capcom. And when MK9 was out and I was playing it, I enjoyed the single player, but the online I just couldn't stand, because that's what the game was. When a game gets to be like that, you start running into like balancing issues and see, oh, who can do this like 15, 20 hit combo with this character, but then this other character, they can only do like a 10 or a 12, and that's like as high as they go, while this other character can continuously teleport and do all this other crap and launch off like a 20 hit combo or something. It's really crazy. And it's just like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where you have these characters where you just see the same characters online. That's one thing I really hope they don't do with Injustice. I really hope it's not going to be like some Marvel vs. Capcom just crap where it's just unbalanced, like really unbalanced, where it's like you only see like Superman, Batman, and like maybe another character, like the really mainstream kind of named characters that get really overpowered versus some other character like Harley Quinn or something. I just think that's going to be a bit ridiculous when it comes down to it. And I really hope it's not like that, because that's what Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is like. And before it was cool to like hate on that game, I always said I never really liked it, and a lot of people would really hate on me for it. They'd be like, "Oh, you just suck at the game, blah blah blah." I'd say parts that were unbalanced, and they'd be, "Oh, you're just not good enough. You got to use this move to counter this move," and that's just stupid. It should be straight up. It makes sense if it's two fireballs to eliminate each other, fine. But when it comes to to eliminate all these fireballs that they shoot really fast, you have to do this spin kick in order to negate them. Like, that was so stupid. I'd made a video once about Phoenix on Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I wasn't really that good at the game anyway, but I had made some comments like, oh, I think that those fireballs are way too fast. I think they should patch them to slow them down. And I had a bunch of people, they must have sent it to some forum or something, because they ended up saying something like, oh, well, just because this person's a scrub player, just because you call someone a scrub doesn't mean you're not a scrub. Which, I'll be honest, at the time I made that video, I wasn't that good at the game. But, I mean, can't some people get the benefit of the doubt? You know, it's like, you have someone like Angry Joe, for example, say something bad about Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and that's okay. Everybody oh yeah, Angry Joe, you're so right. But if I were to say that, it would be a whole different thing. It'd be like, oh, you just suck at the game or something. Like, it's so biased and one-sided with some of the ways people, you know, talk about games and whatnot. And I know this kind of went off in a tangent and not talked a lot about Injustice, but it's one of the big determining factors whether or not I'm going to get it. And I haven't seen enough of it to really give my opinion. I really don't want to buy like a collector's edition or something and then turn around and find out the game isn't as good. I think it'll be okay, but that's just from what I've seen of like trailers. You know, it'll really start to show once the first week or two the game comes out. You know, people will start finding out certain things, finding out how the game plays. It's like Street Fighter Cross Tekken looked like a really amazing game, and, you know, everyone saw how kind of disappointing it ended up being in the end. I mean, I still think it's a decent game. I think it gets a little more hate than what it deserves. But, I mean, there are some things they really could have improved with that game. But, as for Injustice, one thing I really hope that they have fixed with this game is the online, because MK9 had really, really bad online. I don't know what it is with Warner Brothers or NetherRealm or whoever works on the online section of the game, but when it comes to people like that, and you can't even run a, you know, that's one thing that always bothered me about some Mortal Kombat fanboys, was how they would talk how Street Fighter's such a crap game, but at least, you know, our netcode and everything else works. You know, Mortal Kombat always has had problems, you know, with the newer games like the Arcade Collection and MK9, and I just really hope that's not an issue for Injustice. I know a lot of international players had a lot of problems, but even local American players had problems around the start. Like, it wasn't till like July, I think, that some of that stuff was starting to get fixed, and the game came out in like April. So because I'd seen videos for it and whatnot, I didn't actually experience it because I really don't play online for fighting games that much. If I do, I play the more classic style games. I play stuff like Street Fighter 3 and stuff like that. I'll play Street Fighter 4 and all that, but Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 3 are really as far as I go. Because I don't like the newer games like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, where you get popped up in the air and then it's just like a juggle and you can't get out of it. It's not like there's a breaker, excuse me, like a breaker to where it's like, okay, I have this breaker bar, for example, and I execute that and it breaks, so this person's not juggling me for like ever. You know, and Mortal Kombat does have that, but, you know, it's, what is it, like, I think it's two bars or whatever, and, I mean, you know, there are some people who are just generally good at some of those games, but then there are some people who just only play the same character over and over and over again, and it gets really annoying, you know, compared to the people who just want to casually play it or just have fun. You know, people who do play other fighting games besides the one same fighting game with the same broken character, or with just the same character over and over again. I mean, you'll get that, I guess, in any game, but it's just really annoying when you play a game and you just see the same characters getting picked over and over again. So I guess that's pretty much all I had to say about Injustice. I don't know all the DC characters that well. Again, that's another thing I can't stand, is when it becomes something like a fighting game, like with superheroes, and then you have people who aren't huge DC fans or Marvel fans, and they're just like, oh, I think it's cool to see this character, or let's talk about this character in the game. And then you have some fanboy come by and be like, oh, you don't know anything about the games because, this character's this, and they ruined him by giving him this armor or something. Like, some of the fanboys really just shouldn't even have an input. I'm sorry, but some of them shouldn't. There were some things like when MK versus DC was coming out, there were a lot of DC fanboys like getting all over that game, talking a bunch of crap about it, and how some of the characters looked like crap or whatever, and I just found it to be a bit ridiculous. I think it's just fanboys kind of like want attention or whatever, like because they don't really have a say because it's a fighting game. It's not like DC Universe Online where, they have some rights to complain in a game like that. I mean, you can add superpowers, that's more of a superhero style game. This really isn't based on superheroes, especially when it's a crossover game. And you really got to look at balancing, and that was another thing with MK versus DCU, was when they had like the free fall combat, and then you could do that one thing where you like blast them through the wall, and it's like test your might, and it's like and you go through all the walls, and you could do like a maximum of like 30% damage or something. Those things are cool, but again, it's one thing I saw when Ed Boon was releasing something for Injustice on Australia. He was bleh, I gotta have a drink real quick. I can't talk. Alright, so he was previewing Injustice in Australia, and he was saying something like you can use the background. See, I don't know. I've never played the game because there's nothing out. So people who got to go to Australia or who lived in Australia and got to play it, they would know more about this than I would. But from what I saw, apparently, like, if there's a car in the background, you can get, like, thrown onto the car, and then, like, you can take that car and pick it up and smack the other player with it or whatever. Like, it's kind of like a wrestling game or whatever. Like, you have items in the ring that you can use. They're not just there to look at. I guess it's kind of like that, except it's on a 2D plane, I guess. It's really hard for me to explain, and it's really hard to talk about it because I haven't played it. And I'm not sure if it's going to be like MK9 where it had like a demo release. Because MK9, for those of you who didn't know, for PlayStation Plus members, they had a demo pre-release for PlayStation Plus members, and you would get the demo earlier than just regular Street Date demo people could. And demo was like 4 characters with a tier of 4 characters on the ladder, and that was it. So I hope NetherRealm does something like that, and I hope they have more DLC. Or something, or make it unlockables. I understand there are some people who don't like buying DLC. I don't either. But there does come a point where whatever you didn't add in the game, you really should make DLC. And you shouldn't just whore it out like some people do. Like, where they just whore it out just to make money that they can. Just intentionally setting back stuff. It's one thing if you make the stuff later because the fans requested it, but I just find it to be a little ridiculous when, they should keep. I don't even think I could be wrong. If I remember right, the Joker was not released for this. I could be wrong. I think he may be on the cover, but I don't remember him getting announced at some point. Like I said, I really haven't looked up that much about the game to give you my full opinions on it, because not much has either been said, or because of the new YouTube layout, I miss the news. Like I said, I don't keep up on everything. I don't keep up on EVO. I don't keep up on every little fighting game that comes out, or every little detail. So it is hard for me to keep up, but I'm gonna try and give you my thoughts to the best of my ability. But I think I've talked long enough, 15 minutes. There's just not enough I can say about the game to really give you my 100% impression. I will say if I do purchase it, it will be on the PS3. I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to get a collector's edition, because I think I'd almost rather see how the game turns out, because there's a lot of fighting games that have come out that I don't even have yet. And I'd rather have those before I get Injustice, to be honest. I still need to get Soul Calibur 5, UMVC 3. Even though I don't like the game, I'm gonna buy it for the sole fact that it's cheap now. But, I'd like to get that at least, just to have the proper version, the one that's updated, has the most characters. Things like that. And maybe I will spark an interest in it again one day. I'm not saying it's a horrible, horrible game. I do know there are people who can be really good at the game, but a lot of times if I've even just watched a small tournament, a lot of the little tournaments will just be like the same characters. Wesker, Akuma, Wolverine, Ryu, Chun-Li, Dante. It's always just like the same mixed match characters. Sentinel, whoever else. You don't see like that barrel guy, or, like Heisenko, or just like random characters. You always just see the same ones over and over again. It can be quite annoying. So I think it'd be cool if this new Injustice game is very balanced. If it does do well in that aspect, I may consider picking it up. It's not going to hold the same feeling as Mortal Kombat to me, because Mortal Kombat, that's something I grew up with. DC Comics, I really didn't grow up with any of that stuff aside from the Batman animated series. Okay, other than that, I would say more of a Marvel person. I watched Spider-Man and X-Men, the animated series. Of course, the 90s one is what I'm talking about, but so I don't really have the same feeling about the DC characters necessarily. It doesn't mean I don't like DC, though. I do play DC Universe Online, but that's about as far as I go into DC, that and having MK versus DCU. So, I think that's about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say about the game. If I do get it, it'll be on PS3. I'm not promising a collector's edition, because I don't really have a job. I have Christmas money, but that's it. So I kind of have to pick wisely what I'd like to get. Let's see, there was Soul Calibur 5 I still need to get, UMVC 3, Tekken Tag 2, I don't even have that. I don't have DOA 5. Persona 4 Arena Battle, I don't have that either. And that's about it. Those 5 games are what I still need from from last year and possibly the year before. So yeah, Injustice looks like, from what I've seen, an okay game, but with the reputation of the network play or online play of Injustice and all that, it just seems like I would rather wait in order to get one. The collector's edition, as far as I know, it comes with a pretty cool statue. I think it was Batman and Wonder Woman. It was just a thumbnail, a quick thumbnail I saw on someone's video that they were gonna get it, and apparently the Wii U doesn't have a collector's edition, which I was kind of like, wow, really? So, not that I care. I don't really want a Wii U. I think they're kind of a waste of money, personally. I see the next gen systems just blowing it out of the water once they come out. I mean, to me, the Wii U is just a PS3, just on a Wii platform, or a Nintendo platform. And that's even stretching it. I don't even know if I'd call it a PS3. I mean, it's probably on Xbox 360 standards. I mean, it has what, 8 gigs of flash memory and 32 with the better one, So, yeah, I personally don't see the Wii U being anything too special, to be honest. I think I don't hate Nintendo, but Nintendo sure isn't what they used to be in terms of how they sold their games. I mean, it wasn't up until recently that they started doing that player's choice stuff and selling their mainstream games for like 20 and 30 bucks. They were always like 40, 50, and they always stayed at that price. Like when I bought my Wii in 2009, I bought Twilight Princess and Mario Galaxy, and those games were each used at GameStop $45 a piece, which I thought was a bit ridiculous. So, but yeah, Injustice. I apologize. I didn't talk a whole lot about Injustice, but I just had to get those kind of rantings and ramblings out of the way, because if it's gonna follow anything like new fighting games, it's just one of those things that I really hope they, I don't know, I just really hope it's balanced. I hope it has good netcode, and I hope it's not one of those overhyped games that just has a lot of hype built behind it just because it's the MK team building it. You know, I really hope it's really as good as they say it is, and I really hope it actually works properly. And yeah, that's about all I can say. So, till next time, I will talk to you guys later. Peace.